all of the sessions we're doing today, as well as publishing the standards, we have training available at RTCA on them in case you want to learn more and dive deeper. And I mention that because on our next panel, we have one of the people who gives our training. We turn now to software and DO-178 and the supporting supplements. We have a special committee that was established in 2020, the Special Committee 240. And right now they are hard at work on completing a supplement to DO-178C that will address commercial off-the-shelf software and open source. So please join me. I'd like to introduce Mike Vukas of the FAA, Patty Bath of Belcan, and Mark Lillis of Atlantic Certification Group. Mike is going to start us off to give us some perspective on how software gets accepted at the FAA and where we're going. And then Mark and Patty and I will come back for a conversation around the new supplement. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Rebecca, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. My name is Mike Vukas. I'm a senior software specialist. I work under Brenda Oker that you guys just were introduced to previously. I work in the avionics software and components unit. And I've been asked today to kind of give an update on software policy for the FAA, where we're at, and what we're currently working on that may be added to it. So I appreciate it. Next slide. Thank you very much. So I need to do mine. Sorry. So basically the current FAA software policy, as Brenda alluded to earlier, same thing with the hardware, is that in between 2016 and 2019, there was a significant effort to harmonize between the FAA and EASA. During those years, there was a harmonization with software that was published between the two authorities. There was a joint publication of an AMC and an AC 2115D for those that don't know that occurred in 2017. These publications between the two authorities are basically technical equivalents that recognize DO-178 and their supplements. Next slide, please. So in this newly released policy that was harmonized, it recognizes DO-178C, DO-330 tool qualification, DO-331 model-based development and verification, DO-332 object-oriented technology, DO-333 formal methods, and DO-278C, which is the supporting information. Next slide. So, and to talk a little bit about what Rebecca was informing everyone about SC-240. SC-240 was originally initiated by the Form of Aeronautical Software, the FAST team. It was basically made up of an ad hoc group that formed an investigation for the constraints that developers may have for UAS that they would be facing when using DO-178 and its supplement. The report was published and it was outputted in the paper number, the RTCA paper number, as I have on my slide here. So if anybody wants to look that up and review it. One of the other topics that came up was the introduction of how we introduce COTS and open source software into our current software policies and so forth. So we can take advantage of some of the COTS and open source software that continues to grow out there as time evolves. So with that said, you know, there was also a determination that not only would that help serve UAS and eVTOLs that are being developed today, but also it would provide great benefit and value to our current software suite that we currently have under DO-178 and the RTCA. So the UAS are comprised of the air segment, ground segment, and the communication segment. So there's additional need for the introduction of COTS and open source because lots of this stuff already is out in industry, but just trying to find a way to get itself in and being certified in current and existing products that are being introduced. So the regulatory framework that we have within the FAA starts with the rules 1309, 1301, 2510 for Part 23. The means of compliance to those, as I was stating earlier, is AC 2115D. That's how we approve software. Those are the approved and recognized standards that RTCA and an industry has produced and is acceptable by both YASA and FAA. Current involvement right now is that we are working on a COTS and open source software supplement to DO-178 on how we would be able to introduce COTS and open source software and leverage that as an addition to the suite. And where we see that fitting is that basically it will continue, it will be a additional supplement, and it will sit under the other supplements in DO-115D. And upon being recognized and approved, we see that as being added to a new release of AC 2115 and just be a new harmonized release between YASA and the FAA. And both this COTS and open source software committee, it is a joint effort between YASA and the FAA. So we have both SC 240 and Working Group 117 that are working this tirelessly to find approval process to get COTS and open source into the current software approval to take advantage of some of the stuff that's already been out there, has pedigree, has been out there with good records and no problems, and you know, take advantage of that and bring cycle times down. So that's where we are today.
Thank you for that, Mike. And I really appreciate you giving a shout out to our colleagues at EuroK and YASA, because it does add so much more value when we're harmonized and it's the same process around the world. And, you know, we always try and make it look like it's one committee and everyone working together. I'd like to ask Patty and Mark to come back on because I do have a couple questions after Mike's very, very good job of setting the framework. Patty, I'll start with you because I know that you were involved in, well, I think you all were somewhat involved in DO-178C and have used it extensively. What are the benefits that a software supplement brings to the industry?
If you don't mind, Rebecca, before I answer the specific question, I thought it would be helpful to provide a glimpse into the premise of the new upcoming supplement for DO-178C and DO-278A. I know we talked a lot about airborne, but we do have the ground-based aspects as well. As a side note, we commonly refer to DO-178C and DO-278A as our core documents. As with all the DO software supplements, they don't stand alone. And one of these core documents will also be applicable. Both the need for alternative guidance in the aerospace domain and the committee's scope were to develop guidance specifically for COTS software and open source software. This is not intended for an applicant that may have software lying around and they want to bypass one of the core documents. Just thought I'd mention that. This supplement is fulfilling a specific need, which is that it can be extremely challenging in many cases to obtain the required software artifacts from vendors or from user communities, or to reverse engineer those artifacts effectively. Therefore, the supplement's guidance is based upon a black box approach. For example, the objectives and activities do not require the use of source code to fulfill them. However, source code may make some of the activities a little easier. And although source code is not required from a technical sense, one of our latest advancements in the committee and the supplements, as we're getting close to trying to put that out for FRAC and OC, is that we will have the requirement for source code to be accessible. And that's going to be required for the purposes of accident investigation. Still have the black box approach, but have it available if necessary. The supplement has a rigorous assessment process and an incorporation process. And this incorporation process entails a correlation with the majority of the core document processes that we're all familiar with, and then specifically detailing additional objectives and activities that are needed to integrate the software into the overall software product. The naming of the incorporation process also has significance, as the supplement is not intended for COT software or open source software to be the overall software product. The supplement provides a means to incorporate that software into the overall software product. And lastly, there are provisions for modifications to the software as well. So getting back to your specific question, the benefit the supplement provides is opening up the possibility of use within the aerospace domain to a whole new portion of available COT software and open source software that were previously not pursued under the core documents. That sounds great. It's worth noting, though, that although the methodology of the supplement is different, it is being developed to an equivalent level of safety as the core documents. And because all of the objectives and activities will need to be met, there still may be some software that may not be suitable for the supplement's application. Thanks for the question, Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks for that detailed explanation of how the supplement will fit in the larger picture. I want to turn to Mark, and since you're our trainer of the software supplements at RTCA, we do training on the supplements and the core document. You're very familiar with the existing supplements. How does this supplement differ from the existing supplements that are in use today?
Sure. So the existing supplements, and those are, as Mike mentioned, formal methods, object-oriented, and model-based. Those supplements today, they cover two documents, actually, 178 and 278, where 278 is our ground-based. We always kind of talk about 178, and really there's this whole other parallel document that's 278, and that covers CNS ATM, which is all your surveillance, navigation, communications. It's done for air traffic management, for example. And when we look at the difference between the documents 278 and 178 with respect to this new supplement, you'll see that the existing 278 actually has some decent amount of guidance for COT software, where the guidance for the airborne is much more limited. So what we're doing with this supplement, as Patty explained, it's kind of a different approach. Yeah, you could use the core documents process, but you might find it extremely limiting or unavailable to you because of, say, missing artifacts. So we're trying to leapfrog that idea of missing artifacts and give you a new approach. Because of that, we're not going to be this one-to-one, section by section kind of delta document that supplements are today. Supplements kind of today look like the core document with deltas. We're not doing that. We're giving you an alternative approach when you have CODs or open source. And because of the challenges of this, currently this supplement is limited to level C and level D in the airborne and AL 3, 4, and 5 in the ground-based. So we really weren't able to make the jump of how do we go and handle level A and level B equivalent safety when treating things as a black box. And, so you won't find that in the training. What you're going to learn in the training is it's C and D, and it's a different approach. And it's things like, as Patty said, it's not the whole software. It's not a full operating system. Think of these as drivers, file systems, maybe to talk to something, a screen driver, an interface. These are the kind of chunks of software you might steal. And you may also steal larger chunks of software from maybe the transportation, automotive, or medical industry.
Thank you for that, Mark. And and you answered one of the questions that was in the chat. Actually, several people asked it about DAL was no source code for DAL-A. Which has been a conversation of the group I've listened to. I think I'm gonna throw this one to Mike though. And so is there still value for C and D? If you can't use everything, do you still find this do you have applicants who will find this worthwhile?
Yes, so we have applicants in all areas from UAS to eVTOLs, and even in traditional aircraft that the COTS, the amount of COTS that are existing out there that have that have been developed, especially like in the automotive industry and so forth. The interest is very high on how we port that over. It may not be done exactly like DO-178, but it's just a matter of what Patty was saying is doing an assessment on what they can bring over, and assessing it and how we can get that into avionics.
Great. Thank you for that. So that did answer a couple of questions in the chat, and I'm going to throw one more question back to Mark. What value does this bring to the industry to be able to use software and not start with the clean sheet?
Yeah, I think we've always made the assumption that somehow if we started from ground zero with a DO-178 or 278 process, we would definitely create a better product. And if you had to lower the criticality, you had to use hardware partitioning, an IMA, etc., to create the ability to use maybe this lesser well, I'll just call it lesser software in a higher domain product, like say level C. And so we're giving you a framework to do a non-partitioned with potentially a wrapper approach and other verification activities to put, say, a sensor interface, a LiDAR, other commercial off-the-shelf sensors that may come with both hardware and software. I can now take that software. I can use the experience of that industry. We won't call it service history because there's this whole issue of how do we do the math on service history. But we're going to say, as Mike said, there's a pedigree to that software. It's been proven and used maybe in another industry, etc. And I can bring that in, and I can get that equivalent level of safety and probably potentially better verification aspects, and save a lot of money without impacting safety, maybe even increasing safety because of this other domain, whether it's open source software with a wide user domain of support people or just general COTS, where the applications may be in the hundreds, thousands, or millions of units out. out in the field.
Thank you for that. I'd like to thank all three of you for participating in our webinar today and your commitment to the Special Committee 240. For those who are interested, we do have the tour and the expected progress of all of the work of Special Committee 240 on our website. We also have the training available, and the next meeting for RTCA Special Committee 240 will be with UK Working Group 117 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the week of July 8th. So if you're interested, please reach out. We do always want to include everyone, all stakeholders in the conversation as we work these standards. So Patty, Mark, Mike, thanks again for your time today.